Pew Research did a fantastic new poll where they asked Americans how certain they are that God exists. So let's go through some of the numbers here, and then I'll break it down for you. Overall, 89% of the American people believe in God. Now, that actually requires a little further explanation because we've spoken about on the show before how I think it's 21% or 23% of the American people are now in the nones category, N-O-N-E-S. And basically what that means is unaffiliated. So some of the nones, the unaffiliated, still believe in God, but they're not part of any particular organized religion. So that's an important caveat to keep in mind, because at face value, people read that number, 89% believe in God, and they think that contradicts the other fact that we discussed, which is about 20% of people are in the nones category. There's no contradiction, because some of the nones believe in God or some sort of universal force or something like that, and it just means they're not affiliated with any organized religion. So right off the bat here, there's one caveat. But continuing, they say, what percentage is absolutely certain that God exists? Absolutely certain. That's their wording. You ready for this? 63% of the American people are absolutely certain God exists. That's incredible to me. That's absolutely incredible. Now, let me give you more specifics here per group. 76% of Christians, the broad category of Christians, are absolutely certain. 81% of Protestants are absolutely certain. I think it's 88% of evangelical Christians. 64% of Catholics are absolutely certain. And by the way, you could see kind of a dichotomy and a breakdown here of how conservative a religious group is, or more liberal or moderate a religious group is, based on their answer to this. So, evangelicals far more conservatives on average than Catholics. So that means that, and you can see that 88% of evangelicals are like, I'm absolutely certain God exists, whereas it's 64% of Catholics, so a little lower. 76% of Mormons believe God absolutely exists. 90% of Jehovah's Witnesses, good googly moogly. That's amazing. Now, Jews, only 37% are absolutely certain God exists. That's fucking awesome. It's true. There are just more, at least in the U.S. I don't know the numbers for the rest of the world, but at least in the U.S., there are many what you'd call cultural Jews who say, yeah, I'm Jewish in the sense that I was born into a Jewish family, but am I certain God exists? No. So they're the best category so far. Let's continue here. Hindu, 41%. Muslims, 84%. So they're the opposite extreme, even in the U.S., where 84% are absolutely certain, they say, that God exists. And you ready for this? The best group by a mile. Buddhists, only 29% certain. That's awesome. So there's your overall breakdown per group, but let's go back for a second to that main number. 63% of the American people say they are absolutely certain God exists. So they know. That's what they're saying. We know God exists. Allow me to respond by saying this. No, you don't. Every single one of you, every single one of the 63%, I'm respecting you enough to look you in the eyes right now, see? And say, no, you don't. You might think you do, but you don't. Because anybody who's honest with themselves on the question of do you know, we're all agnostic. We'd all say, I don't know. And it's important to make a distinction here because there's two categories, what you know versus what you believe. So I, for example, I'm an atheist. So I don't actively believe in a God and live my life as if there's a God. So in that sense, I'm clearly an atheist. But in the know sense, so to answer the what do you know question, as opposed to the what do you believe question, when it comes to know, I don't know, which is why I say I'm an agnostic. So there are plenty of people, and if you talk to atheists in my experience, though this is anecdotal, most atheists are agnostic atheists. So we're very honest and very straightforward about how in the no department, we don't know. Richard Dawkins, who's like the poster boy of people would say atheist arrogance and certitude. He even says on a scale, I forget his exact numbers, but on a scale, he's not 100%. He doesn't know that there's no God. He believes there's no God, but in terms of knowing, no, he's agnostic. Like, I'd say most atheists are agnostic on that. So it's hilarious that atheists are tarred with this thing that they're arrogant, they're the ones who have too much certitude, and they look down and they're condescending to everybody else. No, we're the ones who say, we don't know, bro. I don't know. I'll tell you what I believe, but I don't know. That's honesty. Whereas 63% of Americans, 63 say they are absolutely certain God exists. They know that God exists. How can you know if there's no way to know? So 63% of the American people, let's say for a second that was true. That would mean that 63% of people literally had God come down and talk to them and prove to them that he is indeed real. He, she, it, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is real. And they were like, sold. But then you bring up that age-old problem, man. You talk to God, you're religious. God talks to you, you're a psychopath. You know, you're paranoid schizophrenic. You need whatever it is, Thorazine, Seroquel, antipsychotic drugs, a straitjacket. So, okay, if I'm to believe 63% of the American people, 63% know that God exists. You guys should all be put in fucking nutty houses. You know God exists, but you don't know God exists. How do you know? You don't know. You want to know how I know you don't know? Because I don't know. And, you know, I'm relatively confident that none of you are fucking Superman or Batman and have powers that other people don't have. You know, throughout history, anybody who claims to have had that has been a charlatan, a liar, or a fucking magician. A magician who does it. Woo, Chris Angel, I did a trick. Ooh, are you convinced I have special powers? Oh, I have special powers. To be fair to Chris Angel, he doesn't say he has special powers, neither does David Blaine. But I was talking about this the other day. People are so gullible, perhaps they can make a case. You know, if David Blaine existed at the same time as Jesus, you really think we would all take Jesus's word and people would be Christians today? No, I think more people would be part of Blainianity. And they would think that he was the one true God because you should have saw the shit that he did, man. The shit that he did was incredible. I saw him do things that you can't explain but for the fact that he's the Son of God. And they would believe in that. Guys, 63% of the American people out to lunch on this,